So on this first test, we had about 5,000 participants. Highly skewed, not representative, very clear. Very low Windows usage, for example, compared to the population. Very high percentage of people who are advanced users of the browser and the tab functionality. But we know that. That's built into the study. They've told us that, so that we at least know what the bias is. So our challenge, for example, will be, if we're really going to conduct studies that are valid across the internet and across the user base, will be to find groups of people who aren't advanced users who will participate. Even so, 5,000 participants for a question of this type is really unusual. It's hard to get 5,000 people anywhere into a usability lab or in any way to give you the complete picture of how do they use things. This would be like when you open up your browser, do you have 25 tabs open? If you do, how do you manage them? Do you try to cluster them? Do you open a different window and put all your tabs in one research subject in one window? Do you put all your Twitter-related stuff in another window, or all your social networking stuff here and all your research stuff here? What do you do? Like, are there ways that can be more effective? That information is almost impossible. So it's a small number on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's the kind of information that's hard to get anywhere else. So now we have a bunch of information that tells us, for power users who use a lot of this functionality, how do they do it and what do they need? And so this will be difficult to read, but this is the kind of information that was gathered in this first study, which is all available publicly. I mean, if you want to go get it and use it, you're welcome to do so. For this group interested in data in general, you may not be interested in this. But for people interested in navigating the internet or building sites or building software, it may well be. And what we found in Mozilla is that the uses that we can imagine for something are small compared to what the world can imagine. This is the whole data and government issue. And what would you do if data was out there? In other parts of Mozilla, we found that teachers and educators use information about Mozilla in ways that we never imagined. Because the bug system is available and you can track the development of software, there's a bunch of people who've been studying quality in software, which we never knew about. So as we do more and more studies and we get different kinds of information and they get a little bit broader, we're hopeful and won't be surprised to see that data gets used in ways that we never could have imagined. And so we are very big believers in the innovation without permission mantra. So once we do these things and we make the data available, of course, there is no permission for anybody else to go and use them. And so we'll see what happens. Our hope with Test Pilot is that it becomes a vehicle not just for us, but for other people who have questions about how is the internet being used. How do people use the internet? We can think of a few, but the ones that we think of will be specific to our product. Right? That's what we do. That's what we're really experts at. But the questions that you might think of about how people use the internet could be much broader. And so our hope is that this becomes a mechanism through which we can allow access to some set of Firefox users to people broader than Mozilla product developers. And so we started with this first study partly because it was discrete and understandable, and in large part to test the end-to-end process, to make sure that the technical design about how we gather information without personal information, how we transport it, and what we do with it actually works. So we don't gather any personal information. We don't know who you are. We don't care who you are. We gather, in this case, information about how many tabs did you have open, what were you doing, how did you close them. There's an IP address gets transmitted. There's not much way to avoid that coming through a browser. We don't store it in any associated way with the data. We don't use it. There's the initial validation of the validity of the survey. Other than that, we may not even keep it. We're not sure if we need it. If we don't need it beyond that initial few moments that Sandy mentioned, we won't keep it. And so we don't even have a lot of data. So the de-anonymization process gets minimized. Now, to actually do that, you have to be sure that you're not trying to harvest in every piece of data that you can think of. So we've done one survey, one test, pretty successful for where we started. I'll say again that 5,000 people is a lot for something like this. Our hope is that the broader research community, certainly in internet and software things, maybe broader than that, we don't know yet, will find interesting ideas and things that can be explored through this mechanism. What are people actually doing? And that can design a test or a survey that we can offer to Firefox users. And so that process will come next. And I would invite all of you who have thoughts along those lines or interest to look at the Test Pilot website. Because if you've got a survey for which having some number of thousands of people actually voluntarily send you the data, or send all of us actually the data about what they do, then we're interested in trying to facilitate that. It needs to be a survey that meets, privacy, security, quality, trust, all of those sorts of things. But once those are met, we are interested in seeing what kinds of information can be gathered about usage and what people would do with it. And I would also encourage you, if you have any interest, to actually expand the type of people participating in Test Pilot and participate yourselves or take a look at it and suggest it to other types.